We are live. Hi, everybody. I am here with my friend Pamela Merritt, and we're just going to chat because we do that very well.
Yes.
We're experts at chatting. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend, tell you a little bit about her, and I can't wait. I'm going to turn comments on because it's very hard for me once I start talking. I should have had those ready. Where are they? Comments? Okay. So I'm here, and if you are here and you have any questions or you want to make a comment, go right ahead. I will put it on our screen so that everybody can join in on the conversation. But Pamela Merritt and I have been friends for a very long time. We both lived in Michigan at one time in our life, and we were just doing the math a few minutes ago. We were young moms. We just didn't know we were young moms. So we met in a classroom at school, and Pamela Merritt is just a beautiful person. I wanted you guys to meet her and know her if you have not already.
Thank you.
Typically, if you're friends with me, you know about Pamela because I talk about her a lot. Pamela and I share creativity, we share a love for God, we share a love for our families, and we really, truly share a love for each other and business. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Pamela.
Yeah, I think you kind of summed it up. But as you were saying, we met when our girls were in first grade 20 years ago, and that really makes me feel old. But although I don't think I'm old,
You're hot.
I thought we were really, had it together then, and I still think we have it together now. So, yeah, that was when you do the math, it just doesn't seem
It's
that long. There's
crazy.
so much that's transpired over these 20 years that maybe that's why it doesn't feel that long, or just
Yeah.
I don't I definitely don't feel like it's been that long for sure.
So let's tell them the funny story about us becoming friends. So I was a seamstress and I made dance costumes at the time in my basement all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And this sweet mom in the first grade classroom was the room mom. And now by this time, Julie was my third child. So I kind of felt a little bit over being the room mom and being all those things. I just felt like, okay, let me just do the bare minimum and still look like a good mom. But I think I missed my first and third sign up. I'm guessing. I'm totally making that up. But I was missing about as often as I was coming. And I was feeling really embarrassed. And I thought, oh, this mom in there, she's just always there. And she's so cute. And she's got it together. And she's got these two young kids, and they're her first children. And so I just had it completely designed in my head that you only had two children and that you must not do a whole lot or have a lot going on and that you can just be at the school and looking cute. I mean, you guys, I would show up with like no makeup on and threads all over myself from sewing. And I'd get there and like, okay, what do I have to do today to be a good mom? And so she was this mom in the classroom. We got to talking because her daughter Ashley was a dancer and my daughter Julie was a gymnast. And so we started laughing about the fact that I know I did. I was telling you how I met Julie at the bus stop many days with our good old carrot sticks and chicken nuggets so that we could get right out the door to gymnastics. At that time, I think Julie had gymnastics like 4 days a week, and Ashley was the same with dance. So we realized we had that in common. So you tell your part for a minute.
Yeah, well, I saw it as you would come in, and I was in such awe of just everything that you were doing at home and working and all that. And but for me, I felt like the it just culminated when you came in at the end of the year with this beautiful. We had a student teacher that year that everybody just adored, and you had made her this. We had a going away party for her at the end of the school year, and you came in with this beautiful blanket embroidered with every student's name on it in the year and just the class, and thought that was just the coolest thing ever. And I was thinking, I want to know how to do that. I'm going to do that. And so that was how I felt about you. I just felt like you had all these talents and I just did not measure up to a lot of creativity and that coolness. And
So funny.
so,
And
yeah, I never saw you rolling in hot with, thread all over you.
hey, there's Ashley. She was the first grade student. Hey, Ashley. So the funniest thing about this is that I remember one day we were just chit chatting, and you said, "Oh, I know, I do. I need to get hurried home. My dad is home with the babies." And I was like, "Babies? What babies?" And you're like, "Oh, I have two more babies. They're home." I was like, "Oh, okay." I kind of prejudged that a little wrong. She has 2 more babies at home. Are you even kidding me? How are you doing this?
Yeah. Well,
So,
my life was just so much different than yours at that time too. As you said, you were on your third child. By then, you're kind of like, okay, I've already done this. I was still in the mode of,
do all the things.
right. I had 2 in school and 2 not, so it was a lot easier for me to.
Oh, so funny though. I just
And
remember.
I was so grateful and blessed that my dad would take the baby so that I could do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to. So
That was so cool. So I got to watch Pamela raise these 4 wonderful, wonderful kids. And so what happened was we really did strike up a friendship. And I made the dance costumes, and I think you were making Ashley's, and the studio had just started asking you if you could maybe make some of their dance costumes. So,
also back up at that same time, we were seeking a new church,
oh,
and
okay.
and a couple people that we had ran into prior to our conversation was the church that you were going to. And so when you mentioned that you went to this church, we started going there. So then we had that in common
So
as
we
well.
had church in common, the kids at school in common.
It just felt like a confirmation when you said that that's where you went. It was like, okay, I think God is really speaking that this is the place that
Church, yeah.
we should be going as well. So that
So
was
you
a
got,
beautiful part of our friendship too, that I think tied us together in another way as well.
yeah, that for sure. That was really cool. It
Mm-hmm.
was so exciting when y'all started going. But so what happened is Pamela came over with some dance costumes, and she kind of wanted to talk about how they were going to be executed. And I was like, I'm actually pretty impressed. These are good. You're doing good. And so the funny thing is, she would ask me to embroider for her, and every time she brought me something to embroider, I would forget about it until she was like basically in my driveway because it was a side job. But her stuff smelled so good. I was like, even her laundry just smells so wonderful. It's like I would want to hug your stuff, and like I loved the way your clothing smelled. And I would embroider it really quick. I'd be like, oh my gosh, that woman is here. I'm not done with her stuff, which
Yeah.
was very, very typical for my life at that time.
And actually being on that side of it now, I totally get why it was like that.
It's so hard to remember.
Well, and also when it's like if you have a job that has multiple things and it's a job, it's a lot easier to stay focused. But when you get that little onesie in there, it's like,
Oh,
oh,
so
I have to figure out how to maneuver this in, and sometimes it's not.
So friends to us, here's the key. Order it online because there's a system. There's a system in place that we've worked really hard to put in place. We won't forget about you. Oh my goodness, Pamela, how many times a night do you get texts from people and you're like, sure,
Well,
no problem. And you're like, I hope to God I remember this person tomorrow. Like, I'm just
yeah.
tired.
I actually think that both you and I have moved beyond those types of things.
Yes, we
And
don't.
for a long time, it was just
Yeah.
where we were at that time. So, but
There's
yeah.
your hubby. I should have reminded Mark. I didn't even tell Mark we're on. I should text him real quick and
Right.
tell him, hey, Craig, text Mark and tell him Pamela and I are on. So let's go to some more meat. Let's go to some more good stuff about this friendship. So we had dance in common, and then Pamela came over and she worked for me, and we had fun. And I remember one day she said, I wonder how many times a day we use the word cute.
Yes.
She said, I just don't know. Everything is so cute. And all we keep saying is, it's so cute. So we were doing all kinds of things at that time. I was doing dance costumes, I had started embroidering for that. And then I was doing competitions where we took a trailer of embroidered sweatshirts and t-shirts and I sold them to competitive cheerleaders. And boy, that was some fast cash that came and went super fast. I don't really know about what happened in those couple of years, but it was super busy. But she worked for me, and our friendship just grew. It just grew deeper and more beautiful as we got to know each other. Pamela, let's talk about a couple of the funny things we've had in common. Like, we had all that, but what are some other funny things? At one point, my husband took a buyout from the company he worked at, a big company, and her husband, hi Craig, got him a job for a while. So we told these guys that we were going to talk about where things can get tricky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just start by saying that in my life, when a friendship goes a little bit awry, at that time, was maybe mid-30s, I pretty much just walked away. That's what I did. When a friendship felt funny and I didn't think I wanted to have an awkward conversation, I liked leaving the friendship. And I'm embarrassed to say that. I wouldn't do that now, but it is the way I did my life at that time. And so my husband worked with yours, and all was well until the company, neither one of their faults, decided they didn't need my husband anymore. And we got a little sticky. I mean, Mark and I just kind of shut the door and said, "Nah, I think we're done with that. I don't like the way this feels. This feels yuck. Let's be done." Pamela was blowing my phone up with, "Hey, are you okay? I'm so sorry." And I was just, setting the phone down like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this." And so tell them your side of what happened when that got a little weird.
It did, as you said, and I was reaching out to you because we were hurting. We were definitely worried and hurting for you, and just knowing that there was now going to have to be job searching being done, and just all of that, how what all that entails. But yeah, and I remember going to church and approaching you and saying, "Hey, can we talk about this?" And you were very distant, like you just said, it wanted nothing to do with me.
So,
And then I think I pressured a little bit, like, "Hey, we need to
no, we need to
have this
talk.
conversation." And very reluctantly, you did agree. And I think it took several conversations before you really realized my heart and Craig's heart over the situation. Um,
I just remember you saying, and that easy for you? You were just done? You were just gonna be done with this? And without even talking to us? And I remember going, wow, I like hadn't looked in the mirror. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. All I knew is we were hurting and we were scared and we didn't know what we were going to do. And in the end, oh my goodness, how God improved our life through that entire
mhm.
painful situation. You know, Mark needed a job and he ended up getting his dream job. And so it was wonderful and it was good in the end. But our friendship did not suffer. And it was because Pamela said, "No, you need to hear from me and we need to get past this." And it was a very big eye opener for me. And as our years went on in friendship and as our friendship grew, she taught me so many wonderful things. Like if I was mad at a sibling or mad at my mom or frustrated with somebody, Pamela would be the first one to say, "Let's look at this from a different point of view. Maybe you're just," she wouldn't say this, she wouldn't say, "Maybe you're just being Mary." But
No.
I think sometimes that's what she was thinking. And so you would help me many times to forgive and to let's start over. Let's just start over on this.
Mhm.
So we even went into a couple of funny situations after that. Um, you go ahead and lead. What do you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say, just going back to your move, that also, even though it didn't change our relationship from a standpoint of having connectivity, it did alter because now we are living in two different states. So
Yeah. So now we're 10, 12 hours away from each other.
right. So that changed a little bit of our dynamic, I guess,
Yeah.
if you will, for that. But I also think that it helped us grow in some other areas too.
Yeah. I almost feel like we even got closer after that because of all of our hours on the phone. So,
Yeah, I
we
think
got,
we were probably coasting along really well. As you said, I think it's probably important to point out that as closely connected as we are in creativity, we're very different in our personalities. We have so many of the same interests, but we approach things so differently.
so
You're more like coming
I
at it
just say
on,
it. I just comes all out.
and I'm more of the take the step back and let's evaluate and let's look at the situation, assess it, pray about it for a long time. You know, and
Yeah.
so I think that's probably the biggest link that you and I have where we don't always see eye to eye.
No, no, no,
Because
no.
when there have been situations where we've needed to walk through things together, we don't handle them the same way, and therefore it sometimes has caused maybe bigger things than it started off to be, or also just a hurt piling on top of a hurt, let's say, that now you got to peel back even more layers to
Yeah.
get to the root of.
Yeah. And I
But
think
I
that's
think
the thing. I think that's the thing in friendship where I'm going to guess that at least probably half the people who will ever watch this who know us are like me, who say, "Oh, this is not worth it." Like not worth it. I've never said this is not worth it. I can't do this. Like I don't think I can do this. I'm just going to disappear from the situation. And um I think the most beautiful thing about our friendship is that we have fought through some very tough times
Mhm.
and only gotten closer through them.
Yeah, I think just learning more about how the other one operates has been helpful to maintain where we are because, like as you said, there've been some conversations and some things that both of us could be like, okay, I need a break, or I just need to take a step back for a while.
Yeah.
But I before we get into some of that, because I know we are going to get into that, I just want to say just now, and I think it'll be mentioned again, the really, if you peel back all of this and your different approaches and my different approaches, the real key to, I think, why we stay connected is because God,
Yeah.
and in knowing that He is the one who we look to for everything. Because I think that might be the big key. And if someone's watching that maybe that doesn't quite understand really why we've held on or why we've maintained, it's not because of us
Right.
at all.
Right. Right.
And so I just want to make
No, that's a beautiful point, and you're very, very right.
because along with that comes we've had to express and extend a lot of grace to one another, and I feel like we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't know what grace is.
Yeah. Yes. Very
So,
true. And you're so good. See, she's always leading me back to that. So how do we get to the next chapter? The next chapter is a little painful, and I don't like to. I'm very, very careful to never lead my friend down a road that will hurt her because I know what that feels. I feel it with her when she hurts, and I hurt. But one day,
do you want me to take it then?
you take it. You take it and you lead it. You go because this
Well,
is such an important part of our story, but it's also painful.
yeah. So I guess just to give everyone a foundation, if you're not familiar, our youngest baby girl ran ahead to heaven in 2015 after a battle of brain cancer. And so, of course, going through that journey is just incredibly hard and painful. And Mary was there every step. I mean, even just phone calls of her. She knew like the inner parts of me that sometimes people didn't get to know. Even she would answer the phone no matter what time.
we've
But
had we've had some late nights.
yeah, but then through that, she just latched on and being far away. And I think that's the thing about being far away. She kind of felt helpless. Like, I don't know how to help my friend. I don't know how to help this family. So towards the end of our journey, just right before she passed, Mary formed a group called Hope for the Holidays because this was right near Christmas. And she just did these beautiful things to just love on her family and rallied up so many people who just poured
So
so
many people jump
much.
in. Yeah.
And I can't even put into words how beautiful that whole experience was and still is to this day. But it just shows where her heart was for me and for us, for Aislinn. But then pushing on through that is where I think we got a little bit bumpy. So I just really need people to hear like
This
how
is important. This is heavy, and I'm warning ahead of time. This is a little heavy, but we did it, and you can do this too.
Mhm. Yes. So it just was such a, a beautiful experience to have a friend that was just so loving, and not even just like I said to me, just what she orchestrated. I mean, this Hope for the Holidays was a group that people came and they took turns just like showing up at our house, whether it was planned or just dropping things off at our door just to love on us through this hard time. What started off being a very small, what she thought, caroling in our driveway, yeah, an over 500 people event that had,
School buses brought people
yes,
in. I think it
transportation,
ended up on CNN News and Fox News.
yes, multiple news channels, articles written in the newspaper about,
Forgot about that.
yeah, they orchestrated transportation, because we live near a high school, to transport people, because parking on our street was not going to accommodate all these people. And they just, the school jumped on board, like she said, with the school buses, and it just got
Allison dress.
overwhelming. And it was just what she thought was going to be something so small turned into being something.
I was getting texts in Connecticut that said the mayor of the town wants to talk to you. I was like, does he know I live in Connecticut?
Yeah. So, but that's, I guess that's just really important too, to say not just about this, but sometimes you just never know how little impact you think, how far it really goes. So please, if you're in a kind of pondering, I don't know if that feels right or if I should do that, God will just grow and make something bigger than you could ever imagine. So
cool, that story.
Yeah, just so beautiful. And
so once we got through the most painful thing Pamela's ever been through, I truly was grieving also. And this is where things got a little sticky. I guess I felt like, well, we've been through this together, and so surely I'm going to help her through the grieving. And that's just not how Pamela did it. She didn't want me to help her through the grieving, and it hurt me. It hurt me greatly because I felt rejected by my friend and yet unable to know how to bridge this. So
yeah, for sure. And I think that, and I've said this to you many times, I don't know how to tell you to help me because I don't know how to help myself. I don't know what it is that I need, so I don't know how to tell other people. And you're not the only one. It just, I feel like because I am that deep thinker and this processor on my own, this just was another area that I just held on to because I just withdrew. And there's no way. Everyone approaches grief differently, and everyone has their own things. And I think that's just a misconception that people on the outside don't understand. They think it's just, I think from you were more, as you said, hurting, but the other side of you was wanting, okay, it's been enough.
I wasn't wanting to act. I was like, come on, let's do this. Come on.
Yes. Like, so you got to, even people need to please understand too. I got up every day. I got dressed every day. I was living life every day. I wasn't someone that needed to like come over and pull me out of bed kind of, but Mary also felt like, okay, it's been enough time. You've got to this, you've got to get out there.
But I remember it was like 2 or 3 years later, and I had been through some really painful times in my life. And I said, Pamela, I think I've decided I'm done with advice to you. I'm done with suggestions. She was like, oh my gosh, well, that's the best thing you've ever said. Thank you. Now we can get out. Well, because I literally just was like, I can't help her. I can't do this for her or even sometimes with her, but I can love her. And I think that if I were to ever give advice to the aunt or the best friend or the person who is the person who, so if I'm Pamela's person outside of her family and she's lost someone, the very best thing I can do and the very best thing I would tell anyone, which is so contrary to the way my brain works, is don't think of anything. Just don't think of anything. Just listen and be quiet and let them know you're there without thinking of any suggestions that you think are going to help them heal. That's the very best advice I have. If you guys watch this, if you moms, most of my audience, Pamela, is like the age we were whenever we became friends. So I think of them. Okay. So that's what I'm talking to here. When you go through hard times with your friends, and I'm going to say when, you guys, because we're all going to face them. When you do, the very best thing you can do is just love them. And Pamela told me that 800 times. It's not like she wasn't saying that. I just couldn't receive that until I could. I don't know how to say it. So,
right. And I do want to say on that, part of that is learning, me having to learn what other people think and feel. And that's also part of the grieving process, is knowing that there are so many people around you hurting, and knowing so badly how much they want to help you is hard, because you hurt for them too, because you're hurt. You know that they're hurting as well. So it was a learning thing for me. Not that I ever felt like it's me here. It's all about me right now. And you
No,
need to,
you're
I
not.
never had that thought process, but it took me a little bit to understand, okay, she's hurting too. And I have to understand that as well. And it's not because not only were you hurting and grieving the loss of Aislinn, you're also hurting for your friend.
Yeah, I missed you. Yeah,
Right.
that's the very truth. We're
And
talking truth here.
yeah, so that's part of I think where we got a little bit bumpy was that you so badly hurt for me that you wanted to fix me and you wanted to like come on, let's do this. But one of the things, and I recognize it even at the time that you did, but this is just a little bit of what was transpiring, was you had made some bedding for your daughter's nursery and you packed up all of the little scraps of material. Let's just back up a bit for a second because I think this is would be important. After Aislinn met Jesus, because I was so creative, my creative space brought me so much joy. And it's
Before, not after.
right. And it was my workspace is a place that Aislinn would spend a lot of time with me. She would sit at my desk and just come home from school. Mom, what'd you make today? And it was just this beautiful experience that I shared with my daughter. And it hurt to be in that space. It hurt really bad. So when you sent me that, and I hadn't gotten back to that yet. I had maybe dabbled a little bit, but it was just so painful. It took me a long time. I took quite a bit of time off from working, and that was a big part of it. But you had sent me this beautiful box of all these scraps of material and this beautiful note, very sweet, and said, here's some things, go make something beautiful. And I knew exactly what you meant by that. I knew that you were trying to like help me, pull me
Yeah.
back out, pull me
Yes,
into
I was still in
something.
help mode. Come
And
on, you can do this.
I recognize that for sure. And at the same time, I'm over here like flailing my arms, like, doesn't she see that I can't? Doesn't she know that it hurts? Isn't she listening to me? And even though your intention was so good and I
Yeah,
recognize it being so beautiful, at the same time, it also was this crush of she doesn't get me. She doesn't
yeah.
understand. She doesn't know
You
where I'm
felt
at.
lonely. Yeah.
And so I think that paralleled a lot of where we were going a lot because you would say those things and then I would
Yeah.
be,
Oh, yeah.
oh, the frustration or like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think for a little bit, we kind of still are like that. You might talk something business with me and I'll be in a place of I can't process it right now. And you don't know that the timing isn't good for me. How
Yeah.
could you? Because I haven't told you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, but I just need to sometimes I wish that you had a peek in
Yeah.
without like
Yeah.
disclosing because it's very, but on my end, I have to understand that how could you know?
Right.
How are you to know? How is anyone to know?
Oh,
And so it's just sometimes living in this place of grace gets a little bit tiring, not on you, but just in general.
I'm like,
Of like it just yeah, it's a very delicate balance. And then you on your end are like, okay, I don't know if I should say something because maybe it's gonna come off the wrong way. And so I think we both, I guess what I'm saying is sometimes I feel like we both still tread
we
that
do. But I think the difference now compared to at the beginning was that if I sense that, like right now, Pamela's daughter is getting married, and it's a beautiful thing. Ashley's getting married, and I don't want to go too heavy into that, but Ashley misses her sister, and Pamela misses Aislinn more than ever before.
Mhm.
During these times, I also do tread carefully. I try not to bombard you with things that I think can trigger that, and try to just be a listener more so.
Mhm.
But all right, let's just go on just a little bit more. Let's talk about, so at this one point in my life, I owned, when I moved to Connecticut, I really was working on a great impression. It was vinyl wall decal company. I had a pretty big following on Facebook and a decent interest in the business. I loved it. I had poured my heart into it, but I became a grandma. And when I was a grandma, I realized how much I loved sewing kids' clothes. I never had stopped sewing them, I just didn't do it for a business. And all of a sudden, I own a great impression. And over here, I'm doing a great baby. Pamela actually worked for a great baby, filling the orders. And it was just, she helped me through that transition. And eventually, what I said was, Pamela, let's just do this together. Can we just join forces? Can you just work? You run a great impression and I'll run a great baby. Could we please put our passions together? I've always been a little bit lonely in my business because who wants to talk about that with me other than Pamela? And she knew all the details and she said, well, I don't know. Let me think about it. And then about 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, how did it happen? You called me, which was so weird because Pamela never does stuff like this.
Yeah, you had mentioned it a few times, and what you wanted was to me to just be behind the scenes with maybe the running it, but you would still
Yeah.
own it. And
Yeah.
so that was what I said. I don't know.
So she said, basically, I can't work for you. I don't think we should work together. But what if I bought it? And I went, my first instinct was, it's mine. No, it's mine. Like, I love that. I built that. That's my baby. And so, although at the very same time that I was feeling all of that, and she said that to me, I went, yes, yes, this is the right thing. This is what she wants, and this is what I want. And so we actually, this is a very interesting part of the story. We didn't know for sure how to sell or move a company. And we both just prayed about it for a week. The funny thing is, in that time, I called my sister. After Pamela called me, I called my sister. I was like, she wants to buy my company. She said, like, that would be better if she just ran it. And my sister said, oh, Mary, I would never work for you. There's no way. She's right. My sister, she's right. Do it. I was like,
Because that's one of the big differences with you and I too. I think if I ever suggest something, you're like, no.
you do too. You do that to me too.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm not feeling that. And I was like, no, there is no way I'm going to be able to help run a business with all my ideas going, nope.
Yeah, well, she does the same thing to me. I want you guys to know that in public. She says the same thing when I suggest. Oh, so funny. So you bought my company from me, and she came out to Connecticut, and we transferred it all over, and she's really doing amazing things with this company. We knew that's what was needing to happen, and so she has thrown her art and her business ability to it. So that's how it is that I own a company called A Great Baby, and Pamela owns a company called A Great Impression. So that's how that is.
Right. And just going back to what I had said prior to about my creativity and taking a step back for a little bit, that the timing of this was just the way it needed to be. Really, I was ready. I was wanting to get back into a space and work again more on a full-time basis. And I thank you for that so much, because being with A Great Baby, it was something completely different. And I think that's so beautiful how God weaves that in, but it was something I've never done before.
Yeah.
And
So
coming
cool.
back into my creative space, doing the things that I love doing, but it was something I'd never done before. So those flashbacks, those things I had of prior,
Yeah.
it was new and it was fresh. And then that just opened up my heart again to want to be in that space again. So
It's so good.
mhm.
So good. So we talk about some of the conflicts we've had, and I have a funny story. I don't know how to get funny from here. We really can't. I'll have to be another day. But one time when Pamela came out to Connecticut, another visit, my workers were in the space. My seamstress and my print girl were here that day, and Pamela was just visiting me. We were just going to have a fun designing kind of week with a third friend of ours. And we started talking about some of the conflicts we've had. And my friend Patty said, really? Mary can get spicy? Or Pamela said something like, whoa, she's got a temper. And Patty said, wow, I'd love to see that. And tell them what you said.
See, I don't recall exactly the way
You don't know this story? This is just so funny to me.
Refresh my memory, but I don't recall. I do remember having a conversation, but I don't remember why I would have said, oh, well, let me tell you.
She said, oh, I saved her note. It's in the notes of my phone if you want to see it. I was like, she saved my angry letter? That's who Pamela is. She was Save My Angry Letter. Oh, that made me laugh
But
so
I do want to say this. I have never ever once said, Mary,
here's what you
I have
said.
proof right here. I've never ever brought that back out on you.
Oh, it was just so funny that day, though. I wish we could get back to that moment of how funny that was. So, you guys,
Like, I think one of the things that I love about you is that you can take sometimes awkward situations and put a funny spin on them, because
it was fun.
I am so like I said before, I'm this deep thinker, I'm a processor, I'm very reserved, and then all of a sudden you just come in with this spin on it.
Slam.
So,
Oh, yeah. I think
so
that,
I've always said you're like the yin to my yang, because we are
oh,
not
I keep her, we laugh. We
we
laugh
are
very
not
hard sometimes.
like I said, we have the same interests, the same level of creativity as far as like that, and but we
She's
are
the serious, and I'm the, we'll figure it out. We'll kind of figure it out. Um, she's always like, you'll figure it out? How are you going to figure it out? Well, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I was going to say to everyone to kind of sort of wrap this up that I once had it spoken over me or heard very clearly that there may come a day that Pamela and I put our heads together. I'm going to say this right out loud because I believe it's true. And we actually, I would like to see Pamela write a story of her life. You guys, there's so much more. There's so much we didn't tell you about the time when, oh my gosh, she was driving down the road calling me because her son had been in a very, very serious accident. And here's the weird part of the story. Our children had just broken up with each other about a month or two before that. So there's a whole nother chapter you guys don't know about. And that's where the angry letter came in. But anyway, they're all onto their own lives now. They're good. They're all fine.
And just say this. We love our kids.
We love each other's kids, and
we love our kids. So
we love our kids. Yeah, yeah. So we got through that. Oh, but one day she called me as we were worried about Aislinn and said, Mary, I'm on my way to Ann Arbor. Austin's been in a terrible accident and the road is closed because they've life flighted. I'm like, I think I need therapy from being your friend.
Yeah. No, that was very traumatic. Very, very traumatic.
Super traumatic.
Yes. It was a long commute from our home to where he was in the hospital. And along the freeway, he was hit, and they closed the freeway that I needed to travel on because of his accident.
And I'm calling the police department, asking if they can get her an escort. And her phone was dying.
Yes, I lost
battery was dead. She left the house without. Oh, okay, that's a whole nother. So, you guys, someday we may tell a story of exactly how I ran this foundation that turned into this huge thing that all I did was put it out there, and all the people came, and how this. And anyway, in the end, what I want to tell my 30-year-old moms is that, you guys, when you meet a good friend, hold on tight. It is worth it. You're going to need her. You're going to need her. There was one of those nights that oh gosh, was it night or was it 3 a.m. when I texted her and I said, are you up? And it was my turn. And my child lived 12 hours away from me and had taken all she could take of the stress and the inability to finish her classes and tried to end her life. And boy, Pamela was just like, I am up. Why was she up? Why was she up at 3 a.m.? I don't know if she sleeps real well, but she was up and she was like, I am. What's wrong? And she was out that door and on her way to my daughter before I had even told anyone in my family what happened, because I was packing up and I figured I'd call them all from the car. So my words to y'all is, when you find a friend, hold on tight. Guys, it is worth all the angry texts. It's worth getting your feeling hurt. It's worth the forgiveness. The forgiveness is the key.
Mm-hmm. Yes, amen to that for sure. I think as you go through life, you do learn to recognize who is there for you and who your people are, and then you just ride life together, and it's just this Yeah, don't give up easily. Don't
Yeah.
walk away from a small
Don't be a
thing.
Mary.
Well, no, not that, but there's, there. I recognize that it would be easy for you to sometimes just feel like, you know what, it's so heavy for me that I don't know if I have it in me to keep giving this out every day. So it works that way too. I fully understand that,
Um,
but life is going to be hard. It is hard,
yeah,
and
it
don't
is.
don't let the hardness of life just be something that sideswipes you into something that truly is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you, friend. Thank
Thank you
you.
for having
Thank
me.
you
And
for anyone who watches this far into this video after I post it or who's still here. I appreciate you guys. Um, yeah, I'm just really glad we did this.
yeah,
And
thank you
hopefully
for
it's the
having me.
first maybe.
I'm
Uh,
honored to be a part of your story and your life, and a part of your ministry here with a great baby, and what you're doing here for these young moms. And
well,
I just
thank you.
really appreciate that, and just hearing on the backside of it too, how special this is to you and how important it is to you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's,
She hears all the backside.
yeah, well, that's a beautiful part of friendship, and no matter what it is, if it's business or family or that, and it just being privy to the real stuff.
Here's Mark. Mark's on now. Hey, honey.
Hi, Mark.
So thank you, friend. I love you.
I
And
love you
thank you,
too.
everyone,
Thank
for
you.
watching. I hope we've encouraged someone. I mean, Pam, we don't know. We don't know if somebody is on the brink of saying they've had enough,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because that happens in friendships a lot. And we don't know who we're talking to today because we don't know down the road who will hear this. So
Mm-hmm.
bless all of you. Have a great day. And just love each other well.
Yes. Amen.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.